On the dusty edge of a world far from Earth, a small alien camp stood quietly in the dry wind. The sun here was white and sharp, shining down on rows of tents and broken machines. Alien families, tired and worried, moved through the camp with slow steps. Their lives had changed so much in just a few weeks, and nothing felt safe anymore. Lysira sat alone inside her tent. Her arms were wrapped around her newborn baby. The child's skin was a pale blue, and her small eyes glowed softly in the half-darkness. Her name was Mirren. She was only 3 weeks old, but she cried all the time, her small voice shaking the thin walls of the tent. Lysira's hands shook as she tried to calm her, rocking her back and forth. She sang old songs from her home, the ones her own mother had sung to her when she was little. But nothing helped. Myron's cries grew louder every day. Other aliens in the camp looked at Lysira with sad eyes, but they kept their distance. No one knew what to do. Lysira's mate had been taken by the fighting weeks ago, and she had not heard from him since. Most of the other families had lost someone too. The war had come to their world fast and left nothing but fear behind. Lysira felt very alone. Myron's crying never stopped. In the night, it echoed out across the camp, keeping other mothers awake. Some of the elders began to whisper about it. They said the baby must have been touched by a bad spirit. Others said maybe the human soldiers who watched over the camp had cursed her. Lysira did not believe these things, but the whispers hurt her all the same. Every morning, Lysira went to the camp medic. A kind but tired old alien named Vel. Vel looked at Mirren with worried eyes, but he did not know how to help. He checked her temperature, her breath, and her eyes. He gave Lysira little blue drops to put under Myron's tongue, but they did nothing. "I just love her," Vel said softly. "Hold her and wait." Sometimes babies are like this, but Lysira saw the fear in his eyes. She could tell he had never seen a baby cry so much. The other mothers tried to help. They brought soft cloths and strange herbs. They tried to take Mirren in their arms, but the child only screamed louder. Some suggested giving Mirren salt water. Others suggested letting her cry herself to sleep. Nothing worked. Lysira felt her hope getting smaller every day. Outside the camp, humans in strong armor watched from behind fences. They kept order and brought supplies, but most aliens stayed away from them. Humans had been fighting in the war too, but now they said they were here to help. Lysira did not know if she believed that. She saw the weapons the humans carried, and she saw how even the bravest alien warriors moved out of their way. But she could not think about humans now. Her baby was all she could see. Myron's face twisted up and her little fists waved in the air. Lysira's own body hurt from lack of sleep. Her head felt heavy. Sometimes she was afraid she would drop her child from pure tiredness. She began to wonder if something was truly wrong with her daughter. One evening, when the sun had almost set and the air turned cold, Lysira sat by the entrance of her tent. Myron's cries were softer now, but only because she was too tired to scream. Lysira held her close, trying to give her comfort. The shadows grew longer, and she listened to the sounds of the camp. Pots clanged in distant tents, and someone called out in a rough alien tongue. Far away, a baby laughed. Lysira wondered if she would ever hear her own child laugh like that. A group of elders walked past, their heads together in quiet talk. Lysira caught a few words. "It's not right," one of them said. "The child needs a healer, not a mother's love." Another said, "It is because of the humans. They brought sickness to us." Lysira wanted to shout at them to be quiet. She knew they were wrong, but she was too tired to argue. Miron coughed and whimpered. Lysira pulled her closer and rocked her gently. "She, little one, she whispered. Tears ran down her cheeks. She would do anything to help her child, but nothing worked. Suddenly, she heard footsteps outside. Heavy, slow, and different from the soft steps of the aliens. A human soldier passed by the tent, checking on the area as he always did. His name was Ethan, though Lysira only knew him by sight. He was taller than most of the other humans, with kind eyes and a calm way of moving. He stopped for a moment, looking at Lysira and her crying baby. He didn't say anything, but Lysira felt his gaze. She turned away, not wanting him to see her weakness. After a while, Ethan walked away, but Lysera noticed that he kept glancing back at her tent. She wondered what he thought about the crying. Maybe he thought it was strange, or maybe he just felt sorry for her. She didn't know. She tried to ignore it and focused on her child. Night came slowly, and the cold crept into the tent. Lysera wrapped a thin blanket around Mirren and sang softly again. The baby cried through most of the night. At dawn, Lysera felt empty and defeated. She could see the worry in the eyes of the other mothers. Some stayed away now, afraid the crying was a curse. The medic came again and tried a new medicine, but it did nothing. Lysera began to wonder if she would ever find help. She started to feel afraid that her child would never stop crying, or worse, that the baby would not survive. That day, as the sun rose and the camp woke up, Lysera sat outside her tent with Mirren in her arms. She felt the heavy eyes of the camp on her, full of pity and fear. She rocked her baby slowly, wishing for a miracle. She did not know that something was about to happen that would change everything for her and her daughter. The human soldier who had watched her the night before would soon return, and nothing in her life would ever be the same again. Ethan walked his rounds early that morning. The sun was not high yet, and the camp was still waking up. His boots made soft prints in the pale dust. As he passed each tent, he checked for trouble, but mostly he saw tired faces and slow movements. He always tried to be friendly, but the aliens looked away when he passed by. He knew many of them still feared humans, even though they wore the same peacekeeper badges now. He had heard the crying every night and every morning, too. It was different from the other sounds of the camp. It was sad and sharp, the kind of cry that made people stop and listen. Ethan wondered what was wrong with the baby. He remembered when his younger sister was born on Earth, and how their mother had always known what to do when she cried. But here, in this strange camp, everything was different. As he walked near Lysera's tent, he saw her sitting outside again. She looked more tired than ever, her face thin and her eyes red. The baby, Mirren, was pressed against her chest, whimpering softly now, but still not calm. Ethan stopped a short distance away, unsure if he should come closer. He watched Lysera rock her baby, whispering soft words in a language he didn't know. His commander, a man named Sam, walked up behind him. Sam was older, with gray hair under his cap, and he always seemed busy. He glanced at Lysera and her baby, then looked at Ethan. "That child's been crying for days," he said quietly. "Makes you wonder if there's anything we can do," Ethan nodded. "I want to help, but I don't know if they'd trust me." "They think humans are dangerous," Sam sighed. "You can try. We're here to help, not just to guard the fences. But be careful, some of them still blame us for the fighting." Then Sam walked off to talk to another soldier. Ethan stood there for a while, thinking. He looked around and saw the way the other aliens moved past Lysera's tent. No one wanted to get too close. He could feel their worry in the air. Finally, he took a deep breath and walked up to Lysera. She looked up at him, fear and exhaustion in her eyes. Ethan tried to smile and pointed to the baby. "May I help?" He said softly, speaking slowly so the translator on his wrist could catch every word. Lysera didn't answer at first. She hugged Mirren tighter and shook her head, looking down at the ground. Ethan crouched down so he would not look so tall and scary. "I have seen babies like this before," he said gently. "On my world. Sometimes it is something small, but it hurts them a lot." Lysera finally looked at him, unsure. She hesitated, her mind racing with old stories about humans. But something in Ethan's eyes looked honest. She slowly moved her hand away from Myron's face, letting him see the baby. Myron's tiny hands were clenched in fists, and her face was wet with tears. Ethan looked carefully. He saw how the baby's stomach seemed tight, and her breathing was shallow. He remembered when his sister had trouble eating as a baby and how their mother had fixed it with medicine from the store. Ethan knew the alien medic had already tried, but maybe he could do something different. He spoke again, trying to be gentle. "I am not a doctor, but I have some medicine. It is safe for small children on my world. Maybe it can help your baby." The translator buzzed softly, making the words clear for Lysera. She listened, still afraid, but she was desperate. The alien medic had failed, and her own people only whispered stories and gave advice that did not help. She nodded once very slowly. Ethan smiled a little and stood up. "Wait here," he said. He hurried to the human supply tent. Inside, he found a small box of simple medicine, one made for babies with stomach pain. He checked the label, making sure it was the kind his mother used at home. Then he brought the medicine back to Lysira's tent. He knelt down and showed Lysira the small bottle. "Just a little," he said, holding up the tiny dropper. "It will not hurt her. If you want, you can give it to her." Lysira took the bottle in her trembling hands. She looked at Mirren, then at Ethan. The elders nearby watched, whispering to each other, worried that the human would bring more trouble. One elder, a tall man with blue skin, tried to stop her. "This is not our way," he said. "The child needs a healer, not human tricks." But Lysira was too tired and afraid to listen. She wanted her baby to stop crying. She put a drop of the medicine in Myron's mouth. The baby tasted it and coughed, but then swallowed. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Myron's crying slowed. She hiccuped softly, her little face relaxing for the first time. The other aliens stared. The elders looked shocked. For the first time in days, the tent was quiet. Lysira looked at her baby, then at Ethan, her eyes wide with hope and disbelief. She started to cry, but this time her tears were soft and quiet. Ethan watched carefully, ready to help if something went wrong. But Mirren just lay there, her breathing calm. Her hands relaxed and her eyes blinked slowly. Then, slowly, she closed her eyes and fell asleep. Lysira held her close, hardly able to believe it. Ethan felt relief wash over him. He looked at Lysira and nodded, trying not to smile too much. He knew the camp was watching, waiting to see if something bad would happen. But everything was quiet. The news spread quickly. In minutes, people from all over the camp came to Lysira's tent. They wanted to see the baby who had finally stopped crying. Some were afraid. Others were amazed. A few started to wonder if maybe humans were not as dangerous as they thought. Ethan stood up and took a step back, letting Lysira have her moment. He knew he had done something important, but he also knew it would take time for the aliens to trust him. He looked around and saw the eyes of the camp on him. Some were thankful, others were full of questions. Lysira rocked her sleeping baby, whispering thanks in her own language. For the first time since the war had started, she felt a small bit of hope. She did not know what would happen next, but she knew she would not forget the kindness of the human soldier who had stopped to help. After the baby stopped crying, the camp was quiet for a while. People were surprised. Lysira held Mirren close and watched her sleep. The baby looked peaceful, with her tiny chest rising and falling gently. Lysira's heart felt full of hope she had not felt in days. Ethan stayed near the tent but did not speak much. He wanted to give Lysira space, but he was curious about what would happen next. The other aliens were still watching. Some came closer, their faces full of questions and wonder. The camp elder who had warned Lysira about the human medicine came forward again. His name was Karun. He had deep blue skin and eyes that seemed to shine like stars. Karun looked at Ethan with suspicion. "How do we know this medicine is safe for our babies?" he asked. His voice was low but firm. Ethan spoke slowly. "It is safe on my world. I know the medicine well. I grew up with it." He showed Karun the bottle. "I only gave a small amount. It is for stomach pain, nothing else." Karun looked at Lysira. She nodded. "My baby was sick. The medicine helped her stop crying." "I am grateful," she said quietly. Some other aliens murmured agreement. They still did not trust humans, but they could see that Mirren was better. The crying had stopped, and that was important. Over the next few days, Ethan visited Lysira's tent often. Each time he brought small gifts from the human supply tent, soft cloths for the baby, clean water, and sometimes small toys. Lysira was shy but thankful. She began to trust Ethan more. One morning, Ethan found Lysira sitting outside with Mirren awake. The baby was smiling for the first time. Her blue eyes sparkled in the sunlight. Lysira looked happier too. "Your baby is strong," Ethan said with a smile. "She is getting better every day." Lysira nodded. "Yes, thanks to you, she is well again." "I don't know how to thank you." Ethan shook his head. "You don't have to thank me. I am here to help." Their friendship grew slowly. Ethan learned some words of Lysira's language from the translator. Lysira tried to learn English too. They both laughed when they said words wrong. The camp began to change. Other alien families came to Ethan with questions. Some had babies with small sicknesses or cuts. Ethan did his best to help, using his knowledge and the human supplies. He showed parents how to clean wounds and how to keep babies warm. The aliens listened carefully. They wanted to learn. Not all aliens were happy. Some elders still did not trust the humans. They said humans brought war and pain. Karun often argued with Ethan and Lysira. "You must remember," Karun said, "not all humans are kind." "We must be careful." Ethan respected Karun's words but kept helping. He believed that kindness and care could change hearts. One afternoon, a small group of alien children played. Near Lysira's tent, Mirren was with them, laughing and running. Ethan watched with a smile. He thought about his own family back on Earth and how he wished they could see the happy baby. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the camp gate. Soldiers shouted and people moved quickly. Ethan ran toward the noise. Lysira followed with Mirren in. Her arms at the gate. A group of human soldiers was holding back a crowd of angry aliens. They were upset about a shipment of supplies that had been delayed. The aliens were tired and hungry, and the waiting made them restless. Ethan stepped forward. "Please," he said to the crowd. "We are doing our best to help. The supplies will arrive soon." Some aliens shouted back, "You bring us weapons and war, not food." Ethan took a deep breath. He looked at Lysira, who nodded for him to stay calm. "Listen to me," Ethan said. "We want peace. We want to help all of you. But fighting will only hurt everyone. Please be patient." The crowd began to calm down, but some were still angry. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He realized that helping Mirren was only the start. He had to work harder to build trust between humans and aliens. Later that day, Lysira thanked Ethan again. "You helped my baby when no one else could. Now you help us all," Ethan smiled. "We must work together. That is the only way." As the sun set, Lysira sat with Mirren on her lap. The baby looked sleepy but happy. Lysira thought about the days before when Mirren cried all night. Now, with Ethan's help, her baby was strong. She hoped for a future where humans and aliens could live without fear. She hoped her daughter would grow up in peace, and Ethan promised himself he would do everything to make that future real. The days grew warmer as the sun rose higher in the sky. The camp began to feel more alive. Children ran and played in the dusty spaces between tents. The adults talked quietly in groups, sharing news and hopes for better times. Lysira watched. Her baby Mirren with joy. The small alien girl was healthy and growing strong. Her cries were gone, replaced by soft coos and happy smiles. Lysira's heart felt lighter than it had in weeks. She often thought about Ethan, the human soldier, who had helped save her daughter. She was grateful and wanted to show her thanks in a special way. One morning, Lysira prepared a small gift. She took colorful flowers from nearby bush and carefully tied them into a wreath. She hoped Ethan would accept it as a sign of her gratitude and friendship. She found Ethan near the supply tent, helping to organize food and medicine for the camp. When he saw her, he smiled warmly. "Hello, Lysira. How is Mirren today?" he asked. "Better than ever," she replied, holding out the flower wreath. "For you. Thank you for helping my baby." Ethan took the wreath and bowed his head slightly. A quiet gesture of respect he had learned from the aliens. "Thank you. I am happy to help." Their friendship grew stronger each day. Ethan learned more about the alien ways, their stories and their hopes. Lysira taught him words from her language. They shared meals and stories around small fires in the evening. Other aliens noticed their growing bond. Some smiled, hopeful for peace. Others whispered and watched carefully, unsure if humans could be trusted. One afternoon, as Ethan walked through the camp, he saw a group of alien children struggling with a heavy box of supplies. Without hesitation, he went to help. He lifted the box with ease and carried it to the nearest tent. The children laughed and thanked him. One small girl, no older than Mirren, looked up at Ethan with bright eyes. "Thank you, human," she said in broken English. Ethan smiled. "You're welcome." He realized then that simple kindness could change many hearts. It was not just medicine or words, but actions that showed humans cared, but not all moments were easy. One evening, Lysira and Ethan sat by a fire when a group of elders approached. Karun was with them, his face serious. "We must speak," Karun said. "Not all in the camp trust humans. Your presence brings both hope and fear." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I want to help, but I know it will take time." Karun looked at Lysira. "Your child is well, thanks to the human. But others have doubts." Lysira spoke softly. "I believe Ethan helped because he cares. We must try to live together." The elders discussed for a while. Some agreed with Lysira, others remained cautious. They decided to hold a meeting where humans and aliens could talk openly. The day of the meeting arrived. Tents were set aside, and many camp members gathered. Ethan and Lysira sat together, ready to answer questions and share their thoughts. The meeting was tense at first. Some aliens spoke of fear and loss. Humans spoke of peace and help. Slowly, barriers began to break down as both sides listened. Ethan spoke honestly. "We cannot change the past, but we can build a better future. We want to work with you, not against you." Lysira added, "My daughter's life was saved because of kindness. We must learn to trust each other." By the end of the day, many in the camp felt hope. The meeting was a small step, but an important one. As weeks passed, the camp grew closer. Humans and aliens shared work, meals, and stories. Miran grew stronger, laughing and playing with other children. Ethan and Lysira often sat together, watching the camp's new life. They dreamed of a future where their children could live without fear. One night, under a sky full of stars, Ethan promised Lysira, "I will protect this camp and all of you. We will make peace real." Lysira smiled, holding her sleeping daughter close. She believed him. Together, they faced the challenges ahead, ready to change their world. The camp had changed a lot since Ethan first met Lysira and her baby, Miran. The cold fear between humans and aliens was melting away, replaced by hope and friendship. People worked side by side, sharing food and stories. Children laughed together. Running through the dusty streets of the camp, Lysir watched her daughter grow stronger every day. Myron's blue skin shone in the sunlight, and her eyes sparkled with curiosity. She loved to reach for Ethan's hands and smile when he talked softly to her. Lysira was happy, but still worried about the future. The war had left many scars, and not everyone trusted the humans yet. One morning, a group of young aliens came to Ethan with a problem. Their water supply had been cut off because of a broken pipe, and they did not know how to fix it. Ethan listened carefully and nodded. "I can help," he said. "Let's go look." He followed them to a dusty corner of the camp where the water pipe lay broken. The metal was bent and cracked. Ethan examined the damage. "This will take some time to fix, but it is not impossible." He gathered tools from the human supply tent and worked with the alien youths. Together, they cleaned the pipe, removed broken parts, and slowly repaired the damage. The young aliens watched closely and learned from Ethan's careful work. After a few hours, water began to flow again. The group cheered, and Ethan smiled. "Now you know how to fix it next time," the young aliens thanked him, their eyes full of respect. Ethan felt proud. He realized that teaching others was just as important as helping with medicine. That afternoon, Lysira came to Ethan with a question. "Will the war ever truly end?" she asked, her voice soft. Ethan looked at her. "I hope so. We must keep working for peace every day." She nodded but looked worried. "Some people still fear us. Some say humans will come back to fight again." Ethan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "We will not give up. Together we can build a new future." The next days were peaceful, but the camp's leaders knew they had to be ready for trouble. There were always those who did not want peace. One evening, as the sun set, a group of armed aliens entered the camp. They were from a nearby village and did not trust the humans. They wanted to take supplies for themselves. Tension grew quickly. The armed aliens shouted, and the camp's people gathered, afraid of violence. Ethan stepped forward. "Please," he said. "There is enough for everyone. Let us work together." But the armed group did not listen. They moved toward the supply. Tense, Lysira stood beside Ethan, holding Mirren tightly. She was scared but brave. "We cannot let this happen," she said. Ethan nodded and raised his voice. "Stop, this is not the way. Violence will only hurt more." A few soldiers stepped in to hold the armed group back. The camp was tense and quiet. Then a young alien girl from the group stepped forward. She looked at Ethan and Lysira. "I do not want to fight. We need help too." Her words softened the crowd. Slowly, the tension eased. Ethan and Lysira talked with the group's leaders. They agreed to share supplies and work together. The camp was safe again, but everyone knew peace was fragile after the event. Lysira sat with Mirren and Ethan near the fire. "This is hard," she said, "but I believe we can make it." Ethan smiled. "We will keep trying, for the children." Mirren cooed softly in Lysira's arms. The small baby's smile warmed everyone's hearts. The days passed, and the camp grew stronger. Humans and aliens learned from each other. They shared music, food, and stories. One night, as stars filled the sky, Ethan and Lysira talked about the future. "I want Mirren to grow up in a world without war," Lysira said. "Me too," Ethan replied. "We will make sure of it." Together, they dreamed of a better tomorrow. The camp had become a place of hope. The sun shone brighter each day, and the sounds of laughter filled the air. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building a new life after the long war. Children played together without fear, and families shared food and stories around fires. Lysira watched Mirren take her first steps. The little girl wobbled and giggled, reaching out to Ethan for support. Ethan smiled and caught her gently, proud to see her grow strong and happy. One afternoon, Lysira sat with Ethan under a tall tree. The shade was cool, and a soft breeze moved through the leaves. They talked quietly about their dreams and fears. "I never thought we could live like this," Lysira said. "I was so afraid, but now I believe in peace," Ethan nodded. "We have come far, but we must keep working. There are still those who want to fight." She looked at him with hope. "I want my daughter to live in a world where humans and aliens are friends." "Me too," Ethan said. "We will make sure of it." Suddenly, a group of children ran by, laughing and chasing each other. Mirren joined them, her face full of joy. Lysira smiled, feeling the warmth of a new beginning. That night, a meeting was held at the center of the camp. Leaders from both sides gathered to talk about the future. Ethan stood beside Lysira as she spoke. "We have seen how kindness can heal," Lysira said. "Our children deserve a chance to grow without fear. Let us build a world together." The leaders agreed to work for peace. They planned schools, hospitals, and places for children to play safely. The camp was no longer just a shelter, it was a home. Days turned into weeks, and life improved. Ethan helped train alien medics and soldiers, teaching them new skills. Lysira worked with other mothers, sharing stories and care. One morning, a message came from distant Earth. The war was over. Peace talks had succeeded. The soldiers would soon return home. Ethan felt a mix of relief and sadness. He had grown to love the camp and its people. Leaving would be hard. Lysira took Myron's hand and looked at Ethan. "Thank you for everything. You saved my daughter's life and gave us hope." Ethan smiled. "It was an honor. Remember, we are friends." Before he left, Ethan helped build a school named after Mirren, a place where children could learn and grow together as the human soldiers prepared to leave. Lysira and Ethan promised to keep their friendship alive. They knew challenges would come, but hope was stronger than fear. The camp stood as a symbol of new beginnings, where an alien woman's crying baby and a human soldier's kindness changed everything. Mirren waved goodbye to Ethan, her eyes bright with trust and love. She would grow up in a world shaped by peace and friendship, and the story of that small camp on a distant world became a shining light for others to follow.